This is serious stuff. I'm kidding. It's spring! But I did want to craft a little sort of a message about standing in your power, because when I think of groups of women, I'm like, stand in our power. And that is like what you're doing. When I looked on the website to see what you guys do, I was like, that's amazing. Like, it's not just people doing volunteer work and philanthropy. It's women and being leaders. To me, when a woman shows up as a leader, it lets other women know, oh, I can do that. And then when it's younger women, like, oh yeah, we're also gonna do it with our daughters, no big deal. What? This whole place is like every Beyonce song. It's like amazing. So I really applaud what you guys are doing, ladies are doing, because it is, to me, like, you know, it takes one to stand in power and it inspires other people, and then it just becomes like a normal person, you know, a normal thing to like, oh, of course, women are leaders. Oh, I get it. Where it's not like something we have to, you know, a hill we have to trot up a lot. So again, thank you for having me here. I'm really thrilled to be here. And your patronesses. What? That's me? I was gonna ask, because I looked at the website and I was like, where are my TikTokers? Oh, there's no TikTokers, okay. No, that's cool. Where are my patronesses at? You're all here. Yeah, that's so great. I love it. It is so important, you know, again, for women to be leaders, so other women, it's like a lamppost. You know, like, oh, I turn on my lamppost, there's light, and then another person can see like, oh, I have that switch too. I can do this. This is amazing, which is probably what you found here. It has been told, I'm a comedian. I also write for television. And I'm also a meditation teacher, and I got really into meditation because the first two things were so stressful. So I suppose my spiritual journey began as any other. I was writing on the George Lopez show. And I was like, oh, this is a grind. I've got to really like do something for my head. So I just want to start off a little telling you about me. That's my favorite topic. I don't know about yours. I am originally from Texas. I am from a small town, Grand Prairie, Texas. I don't live there anymore because I can read. What? You guys are fun. That wine's kicking in, right? Everybody's like, yeah. My dad is typical. I grew up it was a suburb, we wore shoes, but there was still like some typical Texas stuff, right? Like I grew up with deer heads on the wall, which sends a strong message to a little girl to clean her room. Like that is like, look what I did to them. And they didn't even make me mad. Now get in there. I'll make my bed. And my dad is like, I love my dad, but he's gruff. So he's been like angry so long, that's just how he talks now. You might have one of these dads. I like the nods. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. It's, everything he says is on the level of get off my lawn. Everything he says is like, I love you. Merry Christmas. Who wants a sandwich? I'm like, I love you too, but I need therapy so hard right now. And he doesn't know he's doing it. He just doesn't have any modulation left. Like, I'm so nervous to say this part. It's like he has resting dick voice. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't know he's doing it. Okay, well, I appreciate it. Pause break. I will say one more naughty word if there's a pause. I just was told, like, hey, we're in a church, and then I was like, we're not totally in the church. Anyway. That's... but my mom's right? Yeah. Clearly you're all moms. My mom, nicest person you could ever meet. And so I feel like she was always trying to balance him. So he'd come in from work and just sort of gripe at us, you know, he's like, pick that up, clean your room, get ready for dinner. And she would come along behind him and sort of pretend he said other things. She was just like, your dad's just glad to be home. Hoping you're doing well at school, looking forward to a nice meal with you. And, like, she was his press secretary. Like, he didn't say any of that. This is completely untrue. And being in Texas, I always wondered, like, how how they got together, you know, because I only knew him cranky. Like, was he different before, or was he just always like this? Like, were they on a first date? And my dad, like, looked at the menu and was like, well, I hate everything. My mom's like, oh, I love to apologize. Great. What a great couple. Let's do this for 50 years. Oh, that'll be fun for one of us. Yeah, and I was, being from Texas, I don't know, I'm assuming we're all sort of California people. I certainly feel like one now, but I was raised racist. It's a weird truth. It's a weird thing to admit. But in the South, there's a lot of, you know, there's bumper stickers and ads. They're still saying the South will rise again. It's everywhere, and even more so when I was little, the South will rise again. And as a kid, all you know is you want to rise again. Like, you don't have the facts. Like, you didn't know the real situation or what they're talking about. All you know is, well, I know we're the South, and if everybody's going to rise again, I don't want to miss it. So you run around like, yeah, the South will rise again. Yeah, the South will rise again. And then I grew up and I went to college, and I read what I call a real book. And I was like, whoa, the South did what? How about the South will apologize immediately, then lay low for a few hundred years? Put that on a bumper sticker. What is that? My dad also is very old school, like way too old school. And when I think about like standing in my power, like I feel like I've had to accept a lot of like, you know, where I'm from and the people I'm from. So my dad is like, he's homophobic. But he's so homophobic. I lived in San Francisco for a year. I got this awesome job. He's so homophobic, I couldn't talk to him about the weather. Like, I was like, oh, it's so nice here. There's just a really nice breeze at night. And he was like, well, I don't know about that. No, I'm saying that, you know, like there's a chilly air coming off the water. You can wear a jacket. He's like, well, people are going to do what they're going to do. I'm literally just saying, like, you know, maybe you can wear a scarf. And he's like, it's just a whole different generation. You guys are so fun. But yeah, I was thinking about my, how like, I feel like I try to stand in my power, and then I'll fall out of my power, then I get back in my power, and then I'll fall out of it. Like, I'm divorced. Thank you. Right? Some of us. I don't even like the word, right? You know what? I was in a successful short-term marriage. If I had been on the bestseller list for 4.5 years, I'd be very impressed. But, quick question. Is anybody, you ever in a relationship and you have a tough day and you tell your partner about your tough day, and then comes that boring part where you have to listen to them? We could just skip over that part. When you're like, oh, if I hear about your sister-in-law one more time, I can't. Yeah, I don't like the word divorce. I don't like, but when I think about marriage, and also, I have such a duality with marriage, like we all do. Like, a lot of people are divorced, obviously, it's very common, but also I just got engaged. So I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And it's always a magical response. Oh, has love found her? Perhaps love will find me, or love has found me too. I'm so happy for you. But, fun fact, do you know every time a dead body is found, the automatic suspect is the spouse? And we don't talk about this enough. We don't talk about enough that marriage might be murder school. Do you know what I mean? We just sweep it under the rug. But I've studied law and order, and every episode, right? Every episode, dead body, and oh, who could have done this? This is unbelievable. And like, somebody love them? Let's start there. That is always the first door you knock on. Of like, did somebody stand in front of all their friends and family and swear to love them forever, and you have like a $10,000 cake? Yeah, that's our man. Like, it's just the weirdest. Because it's not just murderers getting married. You know what I mean? Like, if that were the case, then you go, well, of course. Well, of course, that's the suspect. They're all just murderers. It's normal people. So it's like people in love, and then a dead body. What happens in the middle? Marriage. So to me, when people are like, I said yes, and we go, yay, like maybe we should be like, let's get you to a safe house. Makes me rethink the gift registry. You know what I mean? Like not getting you a knife set. No. I'm not going to be an accomplice to this. You have a temper. We all know that. Not getting you pillows. No. Stop it. Like you bat the little registry gun out of their hand. Put that down. Stop it. No one's... I'm not getting you garbage bags and bleach. Very weird that you registered for that. Very suspicious. When I got married, it was just the wrong guy. I love the institution of marriage. I look forward to marrying this new guy, see how that goes. He's great. But also, I had panic married when I married. Like, there's some siblings. So, you know when you thought 30 was super old, and you're like, yes, I'm my last prospect. Better jump on this. I do. And then like, oh, it was a terrible idea. And then when you pass 30 by many years, you go, that was nothing. I had so much time. Anyway, live and learn. So, my other aspect that I was thinking of, like where I've been in my power and not in my power is drinking. And I don't drink anymore by court order. Kidding, but it is a good idea that I don't do it because I have a drinking problem. I'm great at drinking. I take that back. I have a stopping problem. I don't care for it. That's my least favorite part of drinking. And I know we have wine here today. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable around me, please, when I'm talking about this, or that it's like we would be like. Believe me, if I could drink like a normal person, I would, all the time, which is the problem. So, yeah, so I have this drinking thing, and one time I was at a party, and I don't know if anybody has ever, maybe when you were younger, no, I think it's just people with problems have this. I didn't know if I was drunk or not. Is that a thing? I was so drunk, I didn't know, like, my friend was gonna leave the party, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna take out, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. And then I went through everything I'd had to drink and eat, measuring it out, as if I was some kind of food alcohol scientist to know if I was drunk. I was like, well, I don't know, I had a couple beers, and then like a taco, even. And then like 15 shots, and like a peppermint, even. And I always, in retrospect, I always had to conclude, yeah, I'm drunk. Because when I'm sober, the question never comes up. Ever. I'm never just ironing. Man, am I drunk? I can't get this crease straight. It's only when I was like, woo, like doing that. Also, I have it's such an embarrassing problem of like, I guess I feel like for me, like my one addiction leads to my other addiction leads to my other addiction. I think of it as my top 3 favorite addictions of guys, pies, and booze. Just like dessert, food, whatever, that's where you start with, because you can have that as a kid. And then like, somebody's gotta make out with me. And you grow into that. And then, if you're me, and then like, booze, this is amazing. And like, a lot of times parties have all 3. So it's a really great thing for me. But when I drink, I have to make out with someone. Like alcohol just hits this, like every cell in my body is like, I gotta have a mouth on my mouth. What do I do? I'm just like a weird kissing bandit walking around like, who's up for this? And like and I will make out with someone, like even if people are like, look, I'm not attracted to you, or hey, we're at work. I'm like, I find a way. Get in there. That's my superpower. And then this is a true story. So I'm like almost 11 years sober, and thank you. I'm putting the wine down the clock. But are we under attack? Oh, you guys. Is somebody super excited that I'm sober? Good for you. They're beating on that. I can feel that in my feet. Okay, we're safe. I guess I have to take charge. All right, you guys. Line up single file, head to the parking lot. So in my not drinking career, I mostly don't want to drink. I'm fine. But there was one day I was very tempted to drink because of Oprah. And yes, that Oprah. There's not like no, not that Oprah. Oprah Robinson, you don't know her? No, there's just the one. Can you imagine? Nobody names their kid Oprah. It's too intimidating. That would be too much. It's like, enjoy life. Anyway, it just occurred to me. Okay, so I worked, as a TV writer, I have had many different jobs, and one of them, if you recall, and you may not, because it didn't really have the viewership, but Oprah retired from her talk show, and immediately Rosie O'Donnell had a talk show. Same space, Harpo, and it was on OWN, and nobody watched it, including yourself. But it was my job. So I was flown to, I got this job, so I flew to Chicago, and I'm like, work at Harpo. Like it's a dream, it's amazing. And especially when you're like kind of spiritual and kind of comedy, and it's a comedy show at Harpo. And so this is what happened was how Oprah tried to get me drunk. That's the headline. But so there was a work party. So Oprah was like really proud of the show. It was like 2 weeks in. She said, "You guys are doing a great job." And we walked into like it's kind of a similar area to this. Everyone gathers, and there's Mexican food everywhere. There's tacos and chips. You know what Mexican food is. And taquitos and chicken. You know the whole thing. And she gave a speech, and she was standing right behind me. Like I was like, Oprah? Like it's such a with like. I want attention. You just go, don't bother Oprah in that weird way. So she said, I just want to reward everybody, job well done. So I got Mexican food from my favorite place, and also, who wants tequila? And Oprah stood in the corner and poured tequila shots, and I was like, I don't want to drink, but if I did, boy, that is exactly. Like, you couldn't custom order a better, hey, let's get drunk now, than like, well, Oprah poured me tequila shots. Like, what was like, other than like, well, George Clooney had a private jet and a $1,000 bottle of wine. What was I supposed to do? There was only, and then, I sat, my standing in my power at that moment was just sitting on my hands. Well, don't go to that part of the room. I was like, this is crazy. And then I even wondered, does it even count? You know what I mean? If you go back to the meetings and you're like, I drank, and then like, oh, it's too bad. Yeah, Oprah poured me some tequila. Oh, well, that doesn't count. So there's magical fairy dust from heaven. Please, if anything, you're better. And so as I wanted to talk to you tonight was, I definitely want to make you laugh. I hope that worked. Now. But I did sort of have a message since I was talking to women about standing in our power. Because I really, does anybody have a voice inside of like doubt and shame? Just me? Yeah, I think of it, I call it the how to hate yourself voice. Because when I listen to it, that's more or less what happens. Here's an example of like, I feel fine, I see a Tesla, now I don't feel fine. That voice, you don't have a Tesla, what do you have a Tesla? You don't have the tire of a Tesla. Okay, yeah, I got it, check, they're better than me. Like there's always, like it's just sort of how the mind works. That there's always, and I've learned from being a meditation teacher, it's actually how the mind works. Your mind is always looking for something better that could help you, or something that might harm you. So that sounds great. I've got my own little, my mind is part bodyguard, my mind is part personal shopper, great. But it really has the effect of like, what about that, what about that, what about that, what about that, all day long. You should be doing that, why don't you do that, you should have done that. Weren't you an astronaut? What? When they're like, so every time the Olympics, come on, is anybody else like, I could have done the luge, I could have done something. Oh man, I didn't even try. How do you even get into that? So you just cross-country ski and shoot? How does it even occur to you to want to do that? I haven't done anything with my life. Then they lose and you're like, all right. I'm sort of fascinated with this voice because I am also an optimistic, upbeat person. And so I can kind of notice when it's like, why did everything just get bad all of a sudden? Like there's just a weird head thing, or like sometimes like on Monday, perfectly fine and happy, and on Tuesday, miserable. What changed? Nothing. Okay, some recognition, and some people are like, I don't get that. So I think of it in a way of like, I just try to make fun of it. Because if I keep it inside, it just makes me sad. But when I share it and go, that is ridiculous. Like my first job, so here's the history of my mom, 7th grade teacher, lovely, like great lady 7th grade teacher, and I later became a 7th grade teacher, but I really wanted to pursue comedy. But when I asked my mom, hey, can I pursue comedy? She said, no. And so, which, probably rightfully so. Because it's tough, but essentially, like, I did anyway. Like, I taught 7th grade, and I did stand-up at night, and I was discovered by MTV, and I starred on an MTV show. So there was a day in my life where I got a phone call from an executive at MTV, and they said, we're gonna make the show. You're gonna be on an MTV show for 13 episodes. And my first thought was, oh my God, I'm gonna be a TV star. My second thought was, it's just cable. Okay, you're right. Yeah, it doesn't even really count, does it? Like, I was like, wow, this head can do anything. It's like whatever goes in. It's like let's make an accomplishment adjustment. And so when I think of it as like, a ridiculous thing, it's almost like you just can't do it. Like, hey, I lost 10 pounds. Wasn't 20. Okay, you're right, voice. Okay, that's right. Hey, that baby's better than you. How's a baby better than me? Have you made mistakes? Yeah, of course. A baby hasn't. Okay, good point. All right. And I think you'll get this. This is a joke I like to make, part true. So my fiance, who is completely lovely, is also a musician, and he's in a band that was very popular in the 1980s. Oingo Boingo. Oh yeah, that was the response I wanted. I was like, I don't want to make anyone self-conscious, but I was like, you look like the right age. Right? I was like, I don't need to see birth certificates, but I was like, kind of feeling it. Okay, we all have Wikipedia. We all know, So he's the trumpet player. Because Oingo Boingo got back together. But my joke is like, well, it's not Depeche Mode. There's just, I'm fascinated by this how to hate yourself voice that's just like, hey, I did this thing, you should have done it sooner. Okay, yeah, good point. And years ago is another example. I went to India. I'm better than you. What? It's such a long way to go to seem like you're a nice person. But so I went to India, and we're touring around as part of my meditation teacher training and stuff. But we're in a bus, and we have a guide, and we're looking at beautiful countryside. And it's great. There's beautiful farmland, and on this one farm there's a little brown house. And so our guide said, oh, that's a dung hut. That's a little house made out of dried cow dung. So there was a slight reaction from people on the bus. Because you don't want to, like this, you can't just go, ugh! But there's a little like, I guess not for me, but cultural differences. But not me. My head was like, that guy owns a house. You don't own a house. I was like, good point. You couldn't even afford a dung hut in Studio City. You got me. So when I think of standing in my power, I'm fascinated by this how to hate yourself voice, because it's like it's talking me out of my power. Like every day at all times it's talking, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have had that. It sounds a little like my dad. Look, I don't want to hyperanalyze myself. And the reason I wanted to mention it to you is because I think, in my experience as a human on this planet, women are great at it. I think we are better at this voice than anyone ever. There is more now than ever. It is, and it's not our fault. We're inundated with every magazine cover is so offensive to me. It's just you need to fix these things about yourself. The last diet I'll ever need, every month. Really? Or beauty products that are aimed at us, because it makes you go, oh, maybe I do need help there, right? Just seeing the suggestion of it is oh, do I need to fix that? Oh, I guess. When I saw a pill, I was walking by a salon, and just walking by, and but it was we have the eyelash pill, and it was the pill that goes into your system through your liver, right? Heart and blood and veins, a pill that you swallow to make your eyelashes lovelier. And I was like, my eyelashes aren't good enough. Do you know how low on the list my eyelashes are? Yeah, boy, I'm not anywhere near, I'm not gonna get to eyelashes anytime soon. And the idea of like, what is that pill doing to your body? Like, yeah, your liver's totally fine with it. You gotta have good eyelashes. And I was like, wow, you know, every ad is sort of suggesting like, there's a problem, we've got the fix. Have you ever tried to compliment a friend? Trying to get a friend to accept a compliment is like trying to wrestle a bear. Like my friend Hillary, there is nothing, she's the loveliest, coolest, most fun, smartest girl. We've been friends since 6th grade, and I'm like, oh, what a cute top. Oh, this was the back of my closet, basically like under some shoes, and I put it on, and then it's kind of tight over here in a weird color, right? But I mean, whatever. But thank you. Like I will get it's like Wonder Woman deflection. With the, like no, it's not. Oh, those are cute shoes, Nordstrom rack. Don't think I went and bought myself something nice. Like, okay, no, rack. I'm not a lunatic. I'm not a psycho. I'm just going to Nordstrom. What am I? Who do I think I am? Like, and to me, like that's the core of that. How to hate yourself. Always like, who do you think you are? You're right. I'm going to Ross. Like you're just. I'm gonna take nothing wrong with Ross. Look, I'm not putting Ross down. I'm just saying, there's like I'll compliment haircut. Oh gosh, your hair looks so great. Oh. Does it? I think I slept on it weird. This is just an accident. I don't try. But thank you. But God, I gotta get it cut. It's great. The color's weird, right? Anyway, but no, thanks. Sure. Thanks. Woo! So I wanted to address, in case anyone relates to this, and it sounds like you do, which is good, because the worst possible response you could have is like, I feel fine. I feel fine all the time. What are you talking about? But I think of this, you know, how to hate yourself voice is like, it's the opposite of standing in your power. But I also think it's normal to get off track. Like, I think it's, you know, first of all, let me address the phrase standing in your power, because I don't like it, even though that's what I'm talking about. But part of it is, it's also why I talk about the how to hate yourself voice, because when people tell me to love myself, I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what does that mean exactly? But I can think of the opposite and think of it as funny and see something I can do about it. So when I think of the standing in your power, it's even just like standing still and being like, I'm okay. Oh, thank you. I'm okay, my opinions are okay. Where I'm from is okay, I'm fine. I don't have to be better, where, you know, standing in your power isn't like, the way I think of it, it's not like I'm trying to overpower, I'm not trying to control, I'm not standing in, it's like He-Man by the power of Grayskull power. It's just like, oh, I'm fine with this, these are my choices and I'm fine with it. Like, can you imagine a world where we get our shirt complimented and we just like, oh, thanks. It's not the biggest problem, but like, I liked it, so I bought it. Like, that's the truth of all of our clothing. I liked it, so bought it. Thanks. You like it too. Now we know. Thank you. That's really all that's happening. But I don't want to make anyone feel bad, or I'm going to seem like I mean, you know, it's not like I'm rich. I'm not trying to. No, it's not. Like, there's not. So it's kind of like to me, I think of standing in your power, just like a gentleness, like an ease of being who you are, where you are, how you are at this time, which for me is never quite where I want to be. Like, which I also think, big thing about being human. I just think it's a big thing about being human, and we're so unfair to ourselves, and especially women. Like I do comedy, and so many times my voice is flared up of like, you're not George Carlin. It's like, no, I'm not George Carlin. I started 6 months ago. I'm not, like, I can't, like, we'll take the most extreme thing. I mean, that was in the beginning, I've done it. Well, you can, obviously I'm very good. 6 months, she's incredible, and so young. Anyway, so I just wanted to share a couple stories about times when like I got way out of my power and like worked my way back into my power. So one is with love, because I think like we like a love story, and you're already big fans of Oingo Boingo, so here's, he's so sweet. He didn't even have to be in a cool band, but he is. Anyway, so this is what happened a couple of years ago. So I found this guy, we're very happy, his name is Brian, he has a name, but a few years ago, I was in like the biggest relationship of my life. Like what I thought was the love of my life, and bigger than my marriage. Like we had lived together for 5 years, been together a couple on and off before that, and had crossed paths really for years before that. So I really, to me, it was this very like, you know, Harry met Sally, like destined, amazing thing. And we had he's handsome and charming, and we had great dates and great fun, and kissed on top of the Empire State Building and on our trip to New York. And, you know, we just had like he would surprise me with like a trip to the Seinfeld diner. I know you've always wanted to go, or what? That specific might not land for everybody, but we were in New York and it was a neat place to go for breakfast. But anyway, we just had like, it was a lovely time. He was a great guy, but he never fully committed. Like when I say we lived together, we did, I thought, but really he stayed with me. And I made a lot of room for his stuff, physically and then emotionally. And I never really, we talked about it, but I never fully stood up for myself. I was like, oh, I want more, and I just kept thinking like, well, it takes time. You know, nobody's perfect. Meanwhile, I have a therapist who's talking to me about what my needs are, and I'm like, I don't have any needs. Anyway, so I kept believing my story that like we were meant to be together, so I just kept like, it'll work out. Like I should be more patient. Like I shouldn't be so jealous. When really, don't have work drinks with someone at 10. Anyway, that's a work drink. But one day, a couple of years ago, he said, I don't want to work on it anymore. And that's how it ended. He said, I don't want to work on it anymore. So then it was over, because I don't know how to work with, I don't want to work on it anymore. Like, oh, then we should, nothing. You have to go. And what I did then was I got my power back. And I didn't know how I was going to do that because I felt terrible, I was devastated, I grieved, I talked to people about it. But I also looked at everything I didn't like about that and decided I don't want to do that again. I just don't want to do that again. And when I did like, you know, I sort of did like a grievance process really, like everything I resent about this situation, you know, everything I didn't get to express, and everything that wasn't okay with me. And then at the end of it, I looked, and the one thing every single thing had in common was, oh, I stayed. Oh, okay. So for me, I had to look at like, what was I inviting into my life and allowing to like, let me sort of not be in my power. And so when I set out to date again, I did it with intention. I had land me a man, right? Intention. You'll do. Look, I just need to make out. No, I was, you heard me. It's so much harder with that alcohol. Anyway, but what's the word? But I realized like what I wanted and needed, and then I set out to find that, and not what I thought looked shiny or who I hoped I was. I was like, who am I really, and what do I really want? You know what I am? I'm a let's say we're gonna go out and stay in person. I'm a let's make a big plan and then just order food and watch Netflix. Let's make out at the beginning of the movie and then take a nap and then come back and finish the movie and our Chinese food. You know what I mean? I'm a simple person. When I was younger, dating was very much more like the event. Like, I want a fancy dinner. I didn't even care who it was with most of the time. I was just like, I'd love to go to that restaurant. You'll do. Or like, Disneyland, definitely. All right, you asked. You know, sure, let's do this. And now I'm like, no, I know who I am. And I really just want like a communal, you know, sweetness. And a few weeks ago, so I met this guy, Brian, you know, a year ago, and then a few weeks ago he proposed in Hawaii. Oh, so, you know, for ladies. And I apologize because I definitely said that on purpose. He did not have to propose in Hawaii, but it does make a nice story. On bended knee in front of his family. Wow. I know. And for me, the truth is, and I didn't even plan to say this to be honest, I didn't think I would ever get that. I didn't, oh, thank you. But that's a part of like, when I think about standing in your power, like I gutted everything to look at what I didn't want and then was like, can I really just choose what I do want? And I just stuck to that vision. And, you know, again, I think of that as like standing in your power. What do I need? And also the critical second stop of like not settling, you know, for less. So the other thing I wanted to mention about another time I was out of my power back in was drinking, obviously. If you're sober, that is, you've been through something to stop drinking. So, and I think of standing in your power can also mean asking for help. So about 11 years ago, I hit my alcoholic bottom in Oklahoma City, which kind of a great place to hit a bottom because you're already maybe not doing great. Like, the one thing you can feel is like, well, probably not the only one, right? Lovely people, obviously, but it's Oklahoma City. And anyway, we have big rivalry with Texas. So anyway, but I hit, and it wasn't just the one thing with alcohol. It was like I had all my things this one night. So what had happened was my drinking career was sort of normal, gradual, and then sometimes fine, and then sometimes like blackouts and bad behavior. And I had actually, a year before I hit my bottom, I had stopped drinking. Like not forever, but I had stopped for an amount of time because I was doing like a food program, and apparently it's empty calories. I was like, what? That's stupid. They may be the most full calories, really, if you just think about how fun it is. So, empty? Not at all. So anyway, so my situation was, I had felt great. I had felt great this one year before I hit my bottom, and then I'd wandered away from sort of the stuff I was doing that was healthy and wandered into like dating this guy, and I'd actually learned meditation before, then this guy like got high all the time, and I was like, it's the same thing, right? And then I just, it's not. And so, and somehow we ended. And anyway, I ended up in Oklahoma City visiting my friend, and we were going out this one particular night, and it was like a Wednesday night. There was just no excuse for the way I handled myself. This was a good friend of mine, and it was a day of like, I just did everything. I did everything that I thought I had gotten over. You know, I thought I had stopped, but like when I had felt good, I was like, oh, I never have to go back to that thing again. And I had so you start with the day drinking, obviously. We're not nerds. So there was drinking, and then like, I don't smoke, but somebody was smoking, and I had this incredible fear of missing out. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do this. And then somebody was like, hey, do you want some cocaine? And then I was like, no. And they go, are you sure? And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't want to be rude. They go, oh, okay. I would just keep going, and then drinks, and we get to the bar, and they had a Red Bull and talking about luge, there was a booze luge, like a Red Bull and vodka luge, and like, you're probably not supposed to put your mouth directly on it, but I did, gross. And that, and drinks, and I'm making out with this guy, and then he wanders off, and there's another guy, and now I'm making out with him, and then it culminated with like, tons more drinks, and then like Taco Bell at 3 a.m. Like, everything I do. Guys, pies, and booze. Like, even to top it off with food was like, of course. And so for me, I was out of my power, if you're not sure which side of the story I was on. Which one should we It's pretty in control there. But for me, it was at the drive home the next day. I was driving back to see my family in Dallas, and that's when it hit me, oh, I'm not gonna stop doing this. Like, I'm not gonna, I thought I was done doing this. And like, that kind of behavior, to be honest, is fine with me at 19, 20, 22. There's a certain age where it's okay, and then I was way past that. And it really hit me like, oh, I can't stop on my own. So when I got back to LA, I asked for help. And I got sober, and I'm 11 years sober, and like I said, like, you know, I get to write for TV, and I have this awesome guy. I mean, it's not Depeche Mode, but still he's great. And I'm getting proposed to in Hawaii. Like all these things, like no one, like that girl at that bar in Oklahoma, no one's proposing to her in Hawaii. If you could just put the drinks down for a second, I have a question for you. Because for me, it was a lot of my behavior with that, and it's not for normal drinkers or normal eaters or normal people in relationships. But for me, it was like, I don't have any power. I have to cling to this or that. So to me, when I think of standing my power, it's not only figuring out the needs you have and getting them met, but also, you know, sometimes asking for help, as opposed to staying in like a victimhood or a denial, like, no, it's fine, or I'll figure it out, I don't want to bother anyone. I ask for help. So I want to give you guys, is church starting? We gotta go to the chapel. So, that's not the door. I just thought it would look good on the, all right. So, good. Or maybe that's the angels, like, we're just so glad you're here. So I just wanted to address for anyone else, how to deal with the how to hate yourself voice. And I think of it in three ways: of hear it, speak it, laugh at it. That's the main thing. It ends, right? I'm being very professional. I'm like, no, just go on, it's no big deal. Oh, it's going on a while. Oh, okay, you know what? But it was beautiful. But also for me, I'm like, I should probably wrap up. That's like, is that the church? Like, get on with it, we get it, you don't drink, move on. So I just wanted to kind of leave you with a couple of things that might help you if you have this voice pop up. One is hear it. So I feel like you have to kind of own it. Meditation helps me hear it, because when we sit in meditation, like thoughts are there, but you're not thinking. You're not involved in them. We sort of see thoughts like you're looking at clouds out the window on an airplane or whatever. Like, oh, that's just those. And so the more we get practice with that, we can see like, oh, that's, like one day I was walking my dog, and this thought occurred to me. And I just started laughing because it was so ridiculous. But this was the actual thought. The thought, I'm walking my dog around the corner. You would be so much more interesting if you were a lesbian. And I was like, I mean, sure, it's true, but there's no reason. There's no reason for that. Like now I'm like, I'm not interesting enough. You know, like, you're right. Boy, oh, man, why aren't I more interesting? So hear it, right? Like if you can kind of grab it and go, that is ridiculous. And also, no, we have like 80,000 thoughts a day. Like another thought will be along in a second. Like what we don't want to do is like build a house on those negative thoughts, you know, because the thought of like, ooh, do I have enough money for 3 months from now might come up. But if we go, I don't, I guess I'll just think about that. Like, we don't want to do that. So when the how to hate yourself voices come up, we just want to like know that the mind is just making thoughts, you know, stuff that could be dangerous, stuff that's better. Like I'm a writer. When I sit down to write, suddenly I have 1,000 things to do. What about the socks? You should go see Black Panther again. How about some ice cream? Maybe a nap. Like, oh gosh, I was just trying to write. I don't think that's a good idea. Like, what about this? What about that? Like a billboard's flashing. So if we can just kind of hear the voice, and also to know, it helped me to learn this, it's distraction or attraction. It's distraction if we don't like it, attraction if we do like it, but it's still traction, where we get the word tractor, is pull. Our mind is just pulling us different directions, and we have every right to just be like, no, thanks, I'm just gonna do this. So hear your voice. The other one is to speak your voice. So if you share with someone, a community member, a friend, your daughter, someone, and go like, oh, this thing is good, this is a great, like that is crazy. Like I could choose to walk around knowing I'm not interesting enough. Or I could go, you know what my brain told me? That I'm not interesting enough. I should be a lesbian. What? Okay. And then it's ridiculous, right? Which is why my third one is a laugh at it. Like, when we laugh at it, we stop accepting it. Also, when we share, I love Brene Brown. She says, if we can share our story with someone who responds with empathy and understanding, shame can't survive. I've also heard your head's a bad neighborhood. Don't go in there alone. But I love the idea of like, shared shame can't survive. Because then it's not shame. Like, it's shame insists, she also said this, I love her. shame derives its power from being unspeakable. So when we go, oh, you know what, I'm having money concerns. All right, now I can get on with my day, as opposed to like, I should probably just have more money. I'll need more money. Ah, the silent scream in the head. And we laugh at it. So I have a friend, the reason I call it the How to Hate Yourself voice is because obviously that's absurd. It's absurd. But if I take it to be like, yeah, if you see a Tesla, you should definitely feel bad. You're meant to have a bad day. That's why they're there. And if you drive a Tesla, maybe when you see like 3 Teslas and you feel, oh, why don't I have 3? Anyway, I just want everyone to have something. Because somebody's like, I have a Tesla. Well, you don't have 4, right? There's always something. Bill Gates, he's awesome. He's not George Clooney. And George Clooney, not Bill Gates. There's always something to feel bad about, is what I'm saying. So, and I think laugh at it. Like, I ran into a friend of mine, Travis, recently, and so he had, the year before, he had a really tough time. Like, I'm not sure if I can pay rent, and my car just broke down, I'm having a hard time. And so when I ran into him again, I said, how are you doing? But he had kind of the same tone, and he was like, I mean, I have a recurring on a network show, and then I'm starring on he's an actor, obviously. He was like, I'm on this series, and I have a, like a commercial, but I was like, oh, excuse me, what? Because he was clearly like being clobbered by that voice inside, right? That just says whatever it is isn't good enough. And I was like, what are you doing? He goes, well, I mean, the series, it's YouTube Red, and they're recurring. Who knows how many times they're gonna have me back in commercials, you don't know how long, So basically, it was like, so discount everything because you have no guarantee and you're not a zillionaire, right? You didn't win an Oscar this morning, so you should feel bad. What kind of actor are you? Like, you didn't, because even that is like, yeah, I won an Oscar, but not like this morning. What? Or like, that was this morning. What about now? Like, there's just always something that voice can get to. So I talked him through it, and I was like, oh, okay, so for that network show that you're on, is that casting agent, were they new? Are they known for making bad decisions? Did she lose a bet? He was like, no, she's good. But you're new to this, right? You've never done this before. You've been like, no, I've been acting. But have you never gotten laughs? So they probably just felt sorry for you. No, I'd be, okay. Like, if you could just sort of like, talk it out. Like, oh, in that commercial, like, were you the only one who showed up for that audition? No, other people were there. Oh, you're right. Like, but inside, my point is that, it can feel bad unless we share. And the way I think of it is, if we could take that voice in our head, and if you could put it in a human, and you just had an actual person walking around with you all day talking to you like that, you would have them arrested so fast. Your friends would, and I think that's why I say share it and laugh about it, because your friends hate that voice in your head. I hate that voice in Hillary's head. I'm like, I'm saying it's a cute haircut, because it's cute. And it's like, oh, like, as if it's a separate person. Let your friends beat up on that person and be like, well, that's just not true. It's just not true what they're telling you. So the way, to me, a nice way to deal with that How to Hate Yourself voice is hear it, speak it, laugh at it, we'll stop accepting it. And one of my biggest lessons that I learned about this was from my mom. So I've mentioned my mom several times, she was lovely. And she was a 7th grade teacher, like I said. She was everybody's favorite 7th grade teacher, and she taught a lot of my friends. So a lot of my friends were like, your mom was my favorite teacher. She was great, and I describe her, because she's country, but very, very sweet. So like kind of June Cleaver in a cowboy hat, I guess I like image, Carol. And so like I said before, my mom loved me dearly. But when I said I wanted to do comedy, she was like, no. It was so foreign to her, and she was so afraid for me, which I now understand. But she told me to get a teaching certificate, which I did use, and she wanted me to have something to fall back on. So I taught school and I did stand-up at night, and as I kept pursuing comedy, she was uncomfortable with that until she retired. When she retired, she suddenly, I guess, like, opened her life up and was like, oh, I kind of get, like, you can do different things in the day. Like, I think she just sort of had tunnel vision from working. Meanwhile, I went on and, I had some success and have written for some shows and done some shows and, met some, I'll send you all my resume. But what really changed was a few years after she retired, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And so I went home to visit, and she got in my face in a way she had never done before. Like, I don't think she laid hands on me, but it was, energetically, it was as if she grabbed me by the collar and was like, you go live your life. You follow your dreams, and you don't let anything stop you. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. I'm so glad you're pursuing your dreams. Go out there and do it. Because I felt she was finally like, do it while you can. Stand in your power. That thing that you're called to do and you're led to do it. Don't let your head talk you out of it. Oh, I want to write a book. You're not Judy Blume, you're right. my mom had, so to me that was the biggest lesson of, yeah, you have to. Stand in your power while you can. And her best friend, after she passed, her best friend told me, Verna, her best friend said that, she said one of the last things my mom had said to her was, I wish I hadn't been so worried about how I looked. And I just really take it to mean like, that thing, it's like whatever it is, we're smart enough, tall enough, too tall, too short, too whatever not right, that it's not a fact, there's no proof. We don't have people presenting us with a petition. You were actually too short. I mean, that only comes up on roller coasters, and we're all past it. There's no need for us to talk ourselves out of it. We still have that. So, and then finally, I'm going to leave you with this. I know you learned to meditate a few months ago. I won't take you through a whole thing, but I do find a really nice way to stand in your power is to sit in your power. And if you'll sort of and this will energize you for the rest of the night, it's not going to be long, but if you'll indulge me in this, I think when you meditate, you tap into that place, and this is why I think it's amazing. You tap into that place, it's just you. It's just you. We're out of our ego, we're not engaged in things, we don't need anything. When we meditate, no one's checking our credentials. We just are. And if you do a mindfulness practice, you go with your breath, which you already have. If you don't have it, you don't have to meditate. Somebody call an ambulance. Like there's no. So we have breath. So if you'll join me for a second, you just close your eyes. I'll just talk you through it. You just close your eyes. And just notice your breath. You just sit comfortably, notice your breath. You can even feel weird. You don't have to feel amazing to meditate. You don't have to feel spiritual. Just notice your breath. You don't have to change it, fix it, make it bigger, slower. And you can notice your thoughts. Like, is this almost over? Yes. Is anyone else with their eyes closed? Yes, probably. And you can be engaged in your thoughts. When you meditate, you're not trying to get rid of your thoughts, you're just noticing them. And when you're aware that all your attention is on your thoughts, you just notice your breath again, just easily, the way you might notice a finger on your left hand. Go ahead and open your eyes. Relaxed a little. That's how easy it is. That's my main thing with meditation. It's that easy. If we feel like, I don't have 18 days to meditate straight, so I'm not going to do it. Boy, that's the voice of that. So we can just, I'll get that. So you let them know this is going great. Yeah, it is. It's going great. It's amazing. But to me, like when we, before we stand in our power, we can take it, to sit in our power. And if you picture like, I think about a mason glass with water and there's a little bit of dirt in it. And when I shake it up, it's muddy water, right? And that's my mind all day. Oh, I have stuff to do. I have to go to Trader Joe's. That parking lot is crazy. I caught the Hunger Games, right? It's everything. And then you set the jar down, and in like a minute, clear water, right? It settles. It's the same with meditation. You just, sit down, just noticing my breath. Not trying to achieve anything or anything amazing. You're just, oh, right, I'm here. Okay. And then get on with your day where you can stand in your power clearly. So to conclude, I just want to say thank you. I think what you do is amazing. It is so amazing to stand as a leader for women and to take your daughters and train them to be leaders. Because again, it's like you turn on like your own light and then enough people around you can see, oh, okay, I can see. And then, oh, I have a light. Now people around them can see. And you're all bringing more light into the world with this ripple effect. And it all starts by just standing in your own power. So thank you.